Hello, good morning. Thanks for joining this session. Hopefully you can see my screen okay. So I'm Louise Castens. I'm the Senior Product Manager at Payara. I'm standing in for Steve Millage today and speaking about why you should opt for Jakarta EE for your applications now and in the future. So let's start with a brief history of Jakarta EE. So into the 2010s, we did enter a period of uncertainty for Java EE and Glassfish users. And that was mainly by communications that started in 2013 when Oracle announced significant changes to the Glassfish roadmap. These included the fact that the trunk of the Glassfish implementation would eventually transition to Glassfish Server of Open Source Edition 5 as Java EE 8's implementation. The reference implementation would be derived from Glassfish Open Source Edition 5, and this replicated what had been done in the past for Java EE and server release. Oracle Glassfish Server would not be releasing a 4.x commercial version going forward. And they also communicated the same year that they would no longer release major releases of Oracle Glassfish Server with commercial support. Specifically, Oracle Glassfish Server 4x with commercial Java EE7 support, and that would only be provided from WebLogic Server. And this started this period of instability. In 2015, news got even worse. So Oracle developers that were responsible for Java EE, the spec leads, stopped contributing code to the project altogether. And at the time, no one was particularly aware because we didn't have a regular cadence of Java releases. And so nobody really was aware until Java 9, which had been announced and delayed a few times, became clear that it wouldn't be going out. So by 2016, everybody was aware they should be doing something. So a group of Java standard bearers who called themselves the Java EE Guardians, they formulated a charter and they said they would come to the rescue of Java EE. And the Guardians included the father of Java, who is James Gosling, and Riza Rahman, who will be joining us on JakartaOne today as well. By 2017, we had the last proper release of Java EE, which was Java EE 8, and that was in August. And although it was a very scope-reduced release, it did contain very important key functionality, such as the Java EE security spec. Oracle later decided that they would transfer the Java EE to an open source foundation. And it's in the same year that Oracle decided to submit Java EE to the Eclipse Foundation. By 2018, a project management committee was formed for the EE4J project. And we announced the new brand name, Jakarta EE, which is what it has been known as from since then. In September 2019, we had the first release of Jakarta EE, which was Jakarta EE 8. And from there, we entered a period of more stability and a more positive outlook for Jakarta. Into the 2020s, we've had competition from Spring and Spring Boot, who obviously still dominate the market. But we have had positive news in the fact that based on the latest Jakarta EE developer report from October 2024, we've seen an increase of usage of Jakarta EE from 53% in 2023 to 60% in 2024. And we're hoping that the new implementations will drive that further. Now we have bi-yearly releases, which in itself is a very positive thing because we have a regular cadence. We also have a very solid roadmap, and part of that is driven by the Eclipse Foundation's Jakarta EE Future Directions Interest Group. Now they look at things like emerging technologies in the market, new industry use cases, any integrations that can be built and offered, and very importantly, appropriate messaging and marketing of Jakarta EE to ensure that we position ourselves well amongst our competitors. The latest working group is the Eclipse Foundation's Open Regulatory Compliance Working Group, which has been established to assist open source participants in adhering to new global regulatory requirements, like the infamous EU Cyber Resilience Act, which all of us are overly aware of. And we're also in the middle of the implementation, or ending the implementation, of Jakarta EE 11, which will be the latest release of Jakarta EE. So let's have a look at why Jakarta EE is a platform of the future. So one of the many benefits that Jakarta EE offers is standardization. It follows open standards and ensures both compliance and interoperability across many different environments and technologies when developing applications. Because it's community driven, it ensures that there is a diverse industrial standards that are followed, as well as best practices being considered. And that has evolved into a consistent and reliable set of specifications. It's much easier for developers to adopt these practices and guidelines because they are very thoroughly defined and very well documented. This standardization also means that developers can easily switch between the implementations with minimal impact on application code, which saves time, effort, money, and when changes are required, they can be done easily. Another aspect that Jakarta EE offers is great stability. So EE provides a mature and proven foundation for innovation. The open community-driven approach at the Eclipse Foundation ensures that applications developed using EE will remain relevant in the longer term. It ensures compatibility through very strict guidelines, so backward compatible changes are only possible in major versions and never or minor or patch versions. And users are given at least one release warning of any major future backwards incompatible changes. The EE model also allows organizations to fully leverage the investments they have made into developing their enterprise Java applications, because it is basically a bridge between old and new. It allows developers to adopt technologies without existing applications and infrastructure investments having to be recreated. It also offers great flexibility. So one of the many advantages that applications written in Jakarta EE have is that they are written and then run on many different platforms. And that is great for deployment flexibility. It means that organizations can support anything from their cloud-based microservices to more monolithic traditional architectures. It's also providing further flexibility because we have the freedom to choose whatever tools and environments best suit our application needs when developing them. There is no vendor lock-in, and so we can make the best choices depending on whatever our requirements are. They can also seamlessly integrate with a myriad of systems, platforms, and services because they are built to support interoperable applications. That means that developers can seamlessly incorporate new technologies like microprofile or Docker images and Kubernetes orchestration into their applications. Developers have the flexibility to use any runtime that is Jakarta EE compatible and pick and choose the parts of the application server they want to use for an optimal implementation. With such a modular architecture, individual components can be scaled on demand and independently. The suite of APIs provided by Jakarta EE makes development of scalable applications much easier. You can optimize resource utilization and performance. So being able to integrate with cloud environments Jakarta EE also unlocks the auto-scaling and resource management capabilities that are typical of these cloud platforms. And beyond this scalability, compared to other frameworks, Jakarta EE applications require much less configuration. Because of all of these benefits, we at Payara and across the industry are committed to Jakarta EE, and we want to be there and first for Jakarta EE developers. So one of the many benefits of the Jakarta EE model is the fact that the application is separated from the runtime. We do at Payara, where we manage the entire infrastructure for you. So we are able in different providers to assemble a runtime so that the developer doesn't have to worry about anything outside of their application. The runtime is able to look at things like configuration, security, integration with different security providers, thread management, messaging, and all the different things that normally developers would have to worry about. So in this case, again, the developer only has to worry about writing their application, and everything can be managed for them in the runtime, and they can use this application across different compute infrastructures. So again, you write your application once and you deploy anywhere. With the application separated from the runtime, you can reap the benefits of this efficiency and run your application on any type of runtime version and across different compute infrastructures. That means that you can deploy, for example, across the full suite of Payara products and support anything from edge through to bare metal or cloud. That also gives the developer the flexibility of making use case appropriate runtime choices. So again, with your application in hand, you can choose the most appropriate runtime for your business applications. So at Payara, for example, our suite of products fulfill particular developer use cases. Payara Micro application is the core kernel, and it's focused on supporting mission-critical production systems. And it's most suited to IoT and edge, as well as containers. The full Payara server allows developers to manage and monitor multiple instances of Payara Micro at scale. And that is offers good support for bare metal and virtualization deployments. And finally, our cloud products, we provide next generation one-click deployment of your Java applications, and it's most suited to Kubernetes and cloud deployments. So again, the flexibility of writing your application once and then being able to select whatever runtime is most suitable to your business use case is as a massive benefit. So let's have a look where we are with our latest development, which is Jakarta EE 11. Now, Jakarta EE comprises 3 profiles that can be used for different application use cases, which gives the developer the freedom to adopt the most appropriate model for their specific requirements. The platform profile, or that used to be called the full profile, is the standard platform for hosting EE apps. It's designed for the developers who need the full set of specifications, and that is usually in the case of writing enterprise applications. The web profile was developed to provide a lighter version of the specifications, and it is mainly focused on web technologies and to support web apps. And finally, the core profile is targeted at much smaller runtimes and is suitable for microservices and ahead of time compilation. And its basis is for cloud runtimes and to support build time applications. So what are the changes that Jakarta EE 11 brings over EE 10? Now you can see there's been a lot of new updated implementations, as well as service releases of certain specifications, and even some deprecations not mentioned here. So most of the updates have happened in the web profile, and the platform has received a new API in the form of Jakarta data. So let's look at some of the highlights in more detail. So as well as updates and new APIs, some of the specifications have been removed. For example, the security manager class, which was deprecated in JD17, in the Jakarta EE 11 release, all the references have been removed in a large number of specifications that it was included in. The managed bean annotation, which was deprecated, is also being removed from Jakarta annotations and from RESTful web services. And finally, Jakarta bean validation has now been renamed to simply be called Jakarta validation. Now, the most significant change is in the form of the new API, which is Jakarta data. So data is a primary concern for most applications, and dealing with databases does represent one of the most significant challenges whenever you're building an application within software architecture. So beyond selecting one of the many options available, it's necessary to consider all the intricacies of persistence integrations. So Jakarta Data sets out to simplify the lives of Java developers by providing this solution, which streamlines data access and manipulation. It offers support for the seamless integration of diverse data sources amid a respective programming models. So they offer a common and familiar starting point for data access, and it's helpful for solutions involving multiple databases or storage technologies. So the primary problem that Jakarta Data sets out to solve is the complexity of inconsistencies that arise when Java applications encounter various database systems, which can be anything from rational, column, key value, graph, and many others. It removes the need to write specialized code for each storage technology, which saves a lot of time. Jakarta Data is engineered to simplify data access and the manipulation within Java applications with diverse databases and storage source interaction. It's also designed to be persistent agnostic because it's not tied to a specific database technology. So it offers a very flexible, adaptable framework and allows you to work with databases and storage systems that best suit your project's need. It's also got a very domain-centric approach, which allows developers to align data access strategies with their core principles, where the domain model plays a very central role in shaping the application's architecture. It also provides a unified and standardized API interacting with various data sources, which simplifies development and allows the developer to use the same tools and practices regarding of the database. It's pluggable and extensible, and it's also got domain-centric querying and database operations, which are supported. And finally, it offers seamless integration because it enables seamless integration between different Java applications and various persistence layers, which makes it much easier for developers to work with different databases and storage sources. So it's a very significant API that has been added to the core platform. So there's been a number of updated updated APIs as well in Jakarta EE. So for one, Jakarta annotations, which defines a collection of annotations representing common semantic contexts, which enable declarative style programming. It has no new features in this release, but it has removed the deprecated managed bean annotation. Jakarta concurrency provides a mechanism for using concurrency from different application components, their integrity. It's got lots of new features in this release, including the integration with JREP 444 and virtual threads. Its support for Java flow class, microprofile React streams, and microprofile contents propagation specifications. And it's also got a new schedule annotation, which replaces a now retired Jakarta Enterprise Bean specification. It's also evolved to become more CDI-centric, with the ability to inject default resource implementations in managed executor server and context server interfaces. Jakarta context and dependency injection is used to obtain objects so as to maximize reusability, testability, and maintainability when compared to more traditional approaches. So this release features the support of Jakarta annotations, priority annotations on the different producers. Jakarta persistence is a standard for managing persistence and object relational mapping in any Java environment. So this again has several new features, mainly the support for different Java record types and embeddable classes. It's also got several new methods added to those classes and interfaces as listed there, and a migration to the Java Time API. It's also included deprecations like Java Calendar, SQL Date, Timestamp classes. It's deprecated the temporal interface and Jakarta persistence map key temporal annotation. So Jakarta security, which is obviously a very important specification, is a standard for creating secure Jakarta EE applications in modern application paradigms. It holds several features in this release. So there's a new API which significantly supports a user choice of authentication mechanisms, which obviously affords developers much greater flexibility when securing their applications. It has qualifiers for built-in authentication methods, and it's also providing a new in-memory identity store. Finally, the new microprofile JWT bridge specification, which is still work in progress, allows applications to build requirements and seamless integrations with microprofile JWT specs. So good changes in the Jakarta security API as well. And finally, Jakarta validation, which was formerly known as Jakarta Bean validation, as we said, it's been renamed in this release, is an object level constraint declaration and a validation facility, as well as constraint metadata repository and query API. And this release significantly supports Java records. So as you can see, lots of new changes which will help with developer flexibility in this release. Jakarta Data is definitely something we are looking forward to being able to use. So I will now just briefly give you a status update of where we are with Jakarta EE, because as I said, we are pending release of Jakarta EE. And Eclipse Foundation has shared this official status notice for me to share with you today. So at this stage, all individual and component specs are actually complete, which is extremely good news. The community has, however, decided to focus on some long overdue work on TCK modernizing and restructuring. And they are now in the final stages of that work. They had hoped to be able to complete that by this month, but it will continue into next year. So The core profile is currently in ballot, and we're expected to have the release announced today in time for this conference, or very shortly after this conference. So we'll all be looking out for that. And the rest of the work, so on the TCKs especially, and so the release of the web profile and the platform specs is pending, and that we hope will be resolved in early 2025. And we're all looking forward to that. So that is everything I have for you today. I will stop sharing so I can see you. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? So no, on bare metal, yes, we simply support the deployment of applications on the different compute infrastructures. I can't really describe very much more with you after the call, if you like, about how you can do that. Yes, I think so. One of the questions is, will TCKs help get new versions out more regularly? This work was very important to do. It had been put off in earlier releases, and we believe that yes, it is now in a better place, and it will definitely make sure that we'll continue with the biannual releases, but the next release should go out quicker with all the TCK changes that have been put in place. I will hand back over then. If there are no other questions, feel free to put anything in the chat, and I'm very happy for this time I've been able to spend with you today. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference, and I'll be seeing you later.